There are conversations that reshape your entire reality. Not with shouting. Not with a dramatic explosion. But with calm, cold words, said too easily, too softly, like someone's rehearsed them for weeks. Ours happened on a Sunday. The kind that used to feel like safety. The air smelled like fresh coffee. A half-eaten croissant sat between us. The cat was curled up in a patch of sun on the windowsill. And then she said it. I think we should try an open marriage. No warning. No build-up. Just those 7 words. So casual, they didn't fit the weight they carried. I stared at her across the table. This was the woman I'd built my life with. We had traveled across continents. Celebrated birthdays, comforted each other through loss, painted our first apartment together, and argued about nothing at 2 a.m. like idiots in love. We were far from perfect, but I thought we were real. I asked her, as evenly as I could, "Where is this coming from?" She gave me a look, the kind of look you give a confused child. Like she was the adult now, and I was just slow to catch up. "I've been reading a lot," she said. Talking to friends. People who are exploring more open dynamics. And I don't know. I feel like I missed out on life. We met so young. I've never been with anyone else. I want to experience more. And what about us? I asked. Do I not count as experience anymore? She shrugged. I love you. But love doesn't mean we can't grow. It hit me then. She wasn't asking. She was telling me. This was already decided in her head. I didn't know what to say. Every part of me wanted to scream. No, absolutely not. This isn't what we signed up for. But I just sat there. Frozen. Watching the woman I loved rationalize stepping out on me and dressing it up as growth. That night, I lay next to her in the same bed we had shared for nearly 10 years. She scrolled her phone. Laughed at TikToks. Kissed me goodnight like she hadn't just cracked our world open. But I couldn't close my eyes. Because suddenly, everything I thought was ours felt borrowed. Temporary. Like I was just a bookmark in her story, and she was getting ready to turn the page. And the worst part? I didn't know then that this open marriage idea wasn't a new fantasy she wanted to explore. It was a justification. A late-stage excuse. Because she'd already found someone else. Someone new. Someone exciting. Someone who didn't carry the weight of memories and responsibility. She just needed me to be okay with it, so she could walk away feeling clean. But deep down, I knew she'd already left me. She was just waiting for the moment I realized it. The following weeks felt like living in a house with invisible walls. We still shared meals. Still said good morning and good night. Still asked about each other's day like some kind of polite roommates playing house. But something had shifted, something permanent. I started noticing the little things first. She was on her phone more often, always smiling at texts she didn't show me. She went out more, just catching up with friends, but came home late and smelled like perfume she never wore around me anymore. She started dressing differently. Less comfortable, more intentional. Like she wanted to impress someone new. And then, slowly, I realized. I wasn't part of the experiment. I was the control group. She hadn't opened the door to possibility. She'd opened the door to him, someone she had likely been texting long before that open marriage conversation ever took place. I didn't want to believe it. So I made excuses. Told myself she just needed space. That this was a phase. That maybe she'd get whatever curiosity was haunting her out of her system and come back to me. But every day, she drifted further. She'd smile at me like nothing was wrong, while her eyes were already elsewhere. And the worst part? I let her. I was so afraid of losing her completely that I allowed her to keep pieces of me while giving all of herself to someone else. One night, I asked, "Are you seeing someone?" She didn't even flinch. "I told you this might happen," she said, matter of fact. "We agreed to this." No, I didn't agree to this. I agreed to a conversation. To trust. To figuring things out together. But she had already made her choice. And I was just collateral damage in the process. The love I had poured into this marriage, the sacrifices, the loyalty, the plans for the future. They didn't matter. Because she wanted new. She wanted different. She wanted a taste of freedom without the burden of what we'd built together. And I, the man who stood by her, the man who loved her before she even loved herself, was now the one left wondering if I had imagined the whole thing. She was glowing. She laughed more, smiled wider, and radiated this untouchable energy. Meanwhile, I was shrinking. Emotionally exhausted. Mentally scattered. Watching the woman I married disappear into someone I couldn't recognize. And still, I stayed. Because heartbreak does that to you. It convinces you to wait. To hope. To believe in someone who's already halfway out the door. But I didn't know then that she wasn't just leaving. She was planning to never look back. There's a moment when pain stops feeling sharp and starts becoming part of you. That's what rock bottom feels like. It's not loud. It's not some screaming collapse or a dramatic fall to your knees. It's quiet. It's waking up in the middle of the night and not knowing who you are anymore. It's staring at your reflection and wondering when exactly you stopped recognizing the man in the mirror. Weeks had passed since that night I asked her the question. She had only grown colder. More distant. More free. And I was unraveling in slow motion. I went through the motions of life like a ghost. Work, eat, pretend to sleep, repeat. I stopped reaching out to friends. I ignored texts from family. Because how could I explain what was happening when I didn't even understand it myself? The woman I loved, the woman I would have died for, was spending nights in someone else's arms. And I let it happen. Because part of me thought if I just held on tight enough, she'd come back. But you can't hold on to someone who wants to be lost. The breaking point came one night. She came home late. Again. But this time, she didn't even try to hide it. No lie. No excuse. Just silence. She walked in, dropped her purse, and headed to the shower. Like I didn't exist. That's when I broke. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. Didn't beg. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, for hours. And in that stillness, something inside me snapped back into place. Not the old version of me, but someone new. Someone who realized. I was done bleeding for someone who wouldn't even offer me a bandage. So I started climbing out of the hole I'd buried myself in. Step by step, I reconnected with people I had pushed away. I picked up my guitar again, something I hadn't touched in years. I started going for long walks just to feel the world again. And I began to journal. Every night. Pouring out every ounce of grief, betrayal, rage, and regret. Page after page. And in doing that, I started remembering who I was. Not her husband. Not her fallback plan. Not her emotional punching bag. Me. It didn't happen overnight. But one morning, I woke up and didn't feel that crushing weight on my chest. I looked at the empty side of the bed and felt peace instead of panic. She was still living with me. But emotionally, I had already left her. And for the first time in months, that felt like freedom. It was a Tuesday. Ordinary in every way. The sun was out, my coffee was still warm, and I had a meeting in 10 minutes. But then she said it casually, like asking for a grocery list. Can we talk later? I looked up. She wasn't scrolling on her phone. She wasn't checking her reflection in the mirror. She was looking straight at me for the first time in what felt like months. Her voice was softer. Almost nervous. I nodded. Not because I wanted to hear what she had to say, but because I had already prepared for this moment. That night, we sat on the same couch we used to cuddle on. The same couch where we made promises during movie marathons and whispered late-night dreams. But now, there was a chasm between us. And nothing was casual about her tone anymore. I think I made a mistake, she began. There it was. The twist. The reversal. The moment she realized the fantasy she chased wasn't real. She told me she'd ended it with him. Said it didn't feel the way she thought it would. Said she missed me. Missed us. And she cried, the first real tears I'd seen from her in ages. You were always there. You were good to me. I don't know what I was thinking. I sat there quietly. Let her speak. Let her try to reconstruct something from the ashes she set fire to. And when she finished, I looked at her and said, calmly, you weren't thinking. You were running. She tried to take my hand. Tried to pull me back into the role she once expected me to beg for. But I didn't move. Because I wasn't that man anymore. I had suffered. I had lost. And I had rebuilt, piece by piece, a life she no longer had a place in. Her voice cracked. Can't we try again? Start over. And that's when I told her the truth. We can't start over. Because you ended at the moment you stopped choosing me. She looked stunned. Like she didn't expect me to be the one to say no. Like the power dynamic she once held had silently shifted, and she was only now realizing it. She wanted forgiveness. She wanted comfort. She wanted the version of me who would have moved heaven and earth just to be enough. But he didn't live here anymore. What sat across from her was a man who finally understood his own worth. I stood up, walked out of the room. and left her there with the silence she once weaponized against me. This time, the silence belonged to me, and it was louder than any apology she could offer. They say revenge is best served cold, but mine, it wasn't cold. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even planned. It was quiet. Simple. And absolutely devastating. Because the best revenge isn't ruining someone else's life. It's rebuilding your own so completely that they no longer have a place in it. After that night, the night she asked to start over, I didn't slam any doors. Didn't throw her mistakes in her face. I just let go. I called a lawyer. Filed for separation. Sold the house we once thought we'd raise children in. And every step I took away from her was a step back toward myself. I moved into a small apartment downtown. It wasn't fancy. But it was mine. I painted the walls with colors she'd never have chosen. Hung art that made me smile. Rearranged the furniture how I liked it, not how we used to compromise. And I started living again. Not surviving. Not mourning. Living. I started hiking again. Volunteered at a dog shelter. Joined a small weekend writing group at the library. Things I hadn't done in years, things she used to mock or dismiss as a waste of time. But they brought me peace. One day, a woman from the writing group asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I hesitated, then said yes. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. But it was real. And that was something I hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, she texted. Emailed. Even left voicemails. At first, they were sad. I miss you. You were the only one who really saw me. I was stupid. I know that now. Then they turned to anger. I can't believe you gave up so easily. So you're just going to move on? Just like that? Well, I guess I never really knew you either. But I didn't answer. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because I had nothing left to give. My silence wasn't cruel. It was honest. I had spoken. With my heart, with my patience, with my presence. And she ignored every word. The last message she sent was short. I saw you with her. She's not me. She was right. And thank God for that. Because she's not you was the highest compliment I could give. You see, I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to expose her, shame her, or ruin her. The universe already handled that. Because one day, she would wake up in a cold bed, scroll through old photos, and realize. The man who once loved her with everything, the man who would have moved mountains for her, wasn't hers anymore. He belonged to himself. And that was the justice she never saw coming.